Jax's revenge domain.
He told me I was being reassigned to quality inspector, effective immediately. I owned 52% of every defense contract that rolled out of his factory. Tuesday morning, first week of December, the kind of Michigan winter that cuts through your jacket no matter how thick it is. Bryce Whitfield sat behind his grandfather's mahogany desk. The one William Whitfield built this company from back in 1971. He had his phone face up next to his laptop, checking notifications while he talked, like whatever was buzzing mattered more than the man sitting across from him. Behind him stood Jennifer Hayes from HR, clipboard pressed against her chest, eyes fixed on the carpet. Garrett, he said, didn't even use my last name. We're implementing a lean management structure as part of our operational efficiency initiative. You're being moved to quality inspector on the production floor. He slid a printed memo across the desk, company letterhead, professional formatting. The subject line read, Leadership Restructuring for Enhanced Productivity. It had already been distributed. Every department head, every supervisor, every manager in the building knew before I did. I looked at the memo, looked at the 28-year-old in the tailored suit who'd never torqued a bolt in his life, looked at the Harvard MBA diploma on the wall, still smelling like fresh varnish. Roger, that I said, stood up, walked out. The door clicked shut behind me. 2 words. That's all I gave him. He had no idea what those 2 words triggered. My name is Garrett Kellerman. People call me Mac. I'm 49 years old. Until that Tuesday morning, I'd spent 24 years at Whitfield Defense Solutions, a $1.2 billion military vehicle manufacturer outside Detroit, Michigan. 24 years. I started as a maintenance tech in 2000, fresh out of the Marines, working second shift for $12.50 an hour. And I climbed to vice president of operations without connections, without family money, without anything handed to me except a chance to prove myself. I'm the only executive in Whitfield history who came up from the production floor. I know every vehicle that rolls off that line. I know every Pentagon contact, every logistics protocol, every supplier lead time from memory. I can tell you the torque specification on a Humvee axle assembly, and I can tell you which transport company runs our Tuesday shipments to Fort Bragg and what the dispatcher's middle initial is. I know these things because I lived them. Every station, every shift, every year. Before Whitfield, I spent 6 years in the Marine Corps. Camp Pendleton, Logistics Specialist, MOS 3051. Desert Storm, Operation Restore Hope, half a dozen training deployments where you learn that details matter and shortcuts kill people. I didn't join the Marines to find myself. I joined because my old man worked the line at Ford for 30 years and told me to get skills they couldn't outsource. He was right about that. The Corps taught me things they don't teach in business school: how to read people under pressure, how to plan for contingencies, how to wait for the right moment to execute a mission. Most importantly, how to gather intelligence before you make your move. I want to tell you what 24 years looks like from the inside, because saying 24 years is easy, living it is different. In 2000, I stood on the production floor in a pair of steel-toed Wolverines and installed my first engine mount. The vehicle was a Whitfield M-Tel-87, olive drab paint headed for Fort Hood. The line supervisor, a Korean War vet named Eddie Kowalski, told me the mount had to be perfect because soldiers' lives depended on it. I didn't forget that. Eddie taught me more than just specifications. He taught me how the company really worked, who made the real decisions, who had connections with the Pentagon brass, who controlled the government contracts that kept us profitable. Most importantly, he taught me about the employee stock purchase plan. See, Whitfield Defense had this program where employees could buy company shares at a 10% discount through payroll deduction. Started it in 1995. Most people used it for a couple years, bought maybe 50 or 100 shares, then cashed out to pay off a truck or put a down payment on a house. Eddie had been buying since day one, never sold a single share. You know what Eddie told me on my 3rd day? He said, Mac, this company's going to be worth real money someday. Defense contracts don't go away, they just get bigger. Buy the stock and forget about it. Think of it like a retirement plan that might make you rich. That was the best advice anyone ever gave me. Shift supervisor at 29, floor manager at 32. Operations director at 38, VP at 44, every promotion came with longer hours and a better view of how things really worked, but also longer stretches away from home. The night my son Zach had his first varsity football game, I told Lisa I'd make kickoff. A shipment of armored panels got diverted to the wrong depot in Kentucky. 200 vehicles sitting incomplete while some private contractor played telephone tag with 3 different Army bases. I spent 6 hours on secure lines with a logistics colonel who owed me a favor from my Camp Pendleton days. Colonel Morrison remembered me from a supply operation we'd run together in '98. When you served with someone, that connection never goes away. Zach threw 2 touchdown passes that night. I heard about it from Lisa over coffee at 11:30 p.m. She didn't complain, she just said, "He looked for you in the stands." That hurt worse than any dressing down I ever got. There was the Christmas I spent in the logistics office rerouting 89 transport trucks during a blizzard that shut down I-75 from Detroit to Toledo. Lisa drove through it to bring me a thermos of black coffee and a roast beef sandwich wrapped in aluminum foil. She set them on my desk, kissed my forehead, and drove home without saying a word. The coffee was still warm at 3 a.m. The sandwich was gone by midnight. 4 times I got calls from competitors offering me more money. Real money. An operations director position at General Dynamics in Virginia. A VP role at BAE Systems in Pennsylvania. A defense consultancy in D.C. that would have tripled my salary and put me 20 minutes from the Pentagon. 4 times I turned them down. Each time, Bill Whitfield, the founder, Bryce's grandfather, shook my hand and said the same thing. "I won't forget this, Mac. Next year we'll make it right." Next year never came, but I wasn't just working those years, I was buying. Every paycheck, every quarter, every profit-sharing bonus went straight back into shares. The composition notebook in my bottom desk drawer, the kind you buy at Office Depot for 89 cents, has every purchase logged in black ink since my first one. Dates, share counts, running totals. The handwriting doesn't change across 24 years. The numbers don't lie. January 15, 2001, 50 shares at $23 per share, 1,170 plus the 10% discount. March 30th, 2001, 75 shares at $24.1574 per share. June 15th, 2001, 100 shares at $22,087 per share, page after page, year after year. Through the dot-com crash, through 9/11s when defense stocks exploded, through the financial crisis when everything else tanked but military contracts stayed solid. In 2006, I called a lawyer named Eddie Walsh, Marine buddy from Camp Pendleton, JAG Corps experience, practicing corporate law in Ann Arbor. Eddie was 42 then, methodical, read contracts the way I read technical specifications. I told him what I had and what I wanted to do with it. He helped me set up a family trust. Everything I'd accumulated went into it. Legal, documented, bulletproof. Then the real opportunities came. When Staff Sergeant Pete Morrison, one of the original production managers, the guy who taught me how to read hydraulic schematics, retired in 2012, he offered me his 8% stake. We signed the papers in his garage over Budweiser's and a Tigers game on the radio. Pete had been with the company since 1978, back when they were building civilian truck parts and Bill Whitfield was still welding frames himself. Pete said he wanted the shares to go to someone who understood what we built, not some Wall Street type who'd flip them for profit. He knew about my stock purchases. Everyone on the floor knew. They called it Mac's retirement plan and joked that I'd own the place someday. Turns out they were right. When the Hartley family estate went up for sale in 2018 after Tom Hartley passed, the family needed quick cash for estate taxes. Tom had been Bill Whitfield's original partner, the guy who designed our first military transport prototype. His family owned 11% of the company, and they wanted a clean, fast transaction. I bought the shares through the trust. Eddie Walsh handled the paperwork. Clean transfer, properly filed with the company registrar, same as always. Nobody questioned it, nobody checked. The last time anyone in Whitfield's current leadership audited the shareholder registry was 2015, 3 years before the Hartley acquisition. After that, they assumed what everyone assumed. The Whitfield family held controlling interest. They didn't. I did. 52%. But I wasn't planning on using it. Not until Tuesday morning when that 28-year-old kid in the corner office decided to teach me about operational efficiency. After Bryce slid that memo across his desk and I walked out of his office, I didn't go home. I went to my truck. Same spot in the employee lot for 24 years. Row E, Space 12, 2018, Silverado, 89,000 miles, toolbox in the bed, Semper Fi decal on the rear window. I sat there for a while with the engine off. December wind rattling the windows, diesel fumes from the loading dock mixing with that Michigan cold that gets into your bones and stays there. From that spot, I could see the main production line through the factory windows, the same line where I'd installed my first engine mount in 2000. They'd upgraded the equipment twice since then, added robotic welders and computerized quality control. The concrete was the same. The purpose was the same. We built vehicles that kept American soldiers alive. I thought about Eddie Kowalski, the Korean War vet who taught me everything. He'd passed in 2015 lung cancer from 40 years of cigarettes in factory air. Before he died, he told me something I never forgot. He said, "Mac, you understand what this company is. It's not just a business, it's part of the defense of this country. Don't let them turn it into just another profit center." Eddie never lived to see Bryce Whitfield take over, probably just as well. I pulled out my phone and called Eddie Walsh. He picked up on the second ring. Always does. I told him what happened. The demotion. The memo. The kid in the corner office telling me I was being moved to the floor. Eddie was quiet for maybe 15 seconds. Then he said something I'd been waiting to hear for longer than I realized. You own the company, Mac. I didn't say anything. 52% of outstanding voting shares held in a properly documented family trust. He demoted the majority shareholder without board approval. That's a violation of Section 12.4 of the corporate bylaws. Any personnel action affecting officers holding equity positions exceeding 5% requires prior board authorization. He didn't get it. Probably didn't even know the rule existed. Eddie paused, filed the injunction, and we shut down every decision he's made since Monday morning. The legal process is something they don't teach you in the Marines, but the principle is the same. You gather intelligence, you identify the objective. You plan your approach, you execute with precision. Eddie had been preparing for this moment without knowing it. Every stock purchase, every transfer, every document had been filed correctly. The trust was bulletproof, the ownership was clear, the corporate bylaws were specific. Section 12.4 was written in 1987, back when Bill Whitfield was still running the company and understood that major shareholders deserved respect. It required board approval for any personnel action affecting officers holding more than 5% equity. The rule was designed to prevent exactly what Bryce had just done. I sat in that truck for a long time, engine off, production line humming in front of me. Afternoon shift change happening around me the way it had every day for 24 years. Workers heading home, second shift heading in. The rhythm of manufacturing that never stops. Then I said what I should have said years ago. File it. The ride home was quiet. No radio, just the sound of tires on wet pavement and the heater blowing warm air that smelled like motor oil and determination. I thought about all the missed dinners, all the late nights, all the times I chose the company over my family because I believed in what we were building. I thought about the Pentagon colonels who knew my name because I'd served with them, because I understood military logistics from the inside. I thought about the defense contracts worth hundreds of millions that depended on relationships Bryce Whitfield didn't even know existed. Most of all, I thought about what Eddie Kowalski would say if he knew what was about to happen. Lisa was in the kitchen when I walked in, reading glasses on, reviewing contractor invoices from her medical practice. She'd been a Navy medical corpsman before we met, understood military culture and the weight of duty. She looked up, took the glasses off, saw something in my face. What happened? I sat down across from her, same kitchen table we'd eaten dinner at for 18 years. Same place where we'd planned Zach's college fund and talked through every major decision in our lives. Bryce Whitfield moved me to quality inspector. She didn't move, didn't ask for details. Lisa's been married to a Marine long enough to know when there's more to the story. She waited. He doesn't know I own 52% of his company. Lisa didn't ask me to explain. She knew about the trust. She'd signed the papers in 2006. She'd watched me buy shares for 24 years, never questioning the strategy, never asking me to cash out when we needed money for house repairs or Zach's equipment. She sat there for a moment, hands flat on her invoices. Then she did something I wasn't expecting. She smiled, not big, not mean, just a quiet smile, the way she does when Zach says something accidentally brilliant. She shook her head once, got up and poured me coffee from the pot on the counter. Folgers, same brand since 2000. She set it in front of me and said, "That boy has no idea what's coming." She was right. Wednesday morning, 8:47 a.m. Eddie Walsh filed the emergency shareholder injunction with Wayne County Circuit Court. He'd been up since 5 a.m. drafting it. I know because he called me at 5:23 to confirm the trust's federal ID number, and I could hear NPR in the background. The filing was surgical. It cited Section 12.4 of Whitfield Defense Solutions corporate bylaws, the provision requiring board approval for personnel actions affecting officers with substantial equity positions. It named the demotion of a 52% majority shareholder as an unauthorized executive action taken without board knowledge or consent. It requested immediate judicial review and an emergency injunction freezing all executive decisions made by non-majority shareholders pending a full board vote. Eddie had certified copies served simultaneously to 3 parties: Whitfield Defense's registered agent, corporate counsel Patricia Reynolds, and the board secretary. The reaction was immediate and predictable. Patricia Reynolds read the filing at her desk Wednesday afternoon. Her first instinct was irritation. Corporate law firms deal with nuisance suits from disgruntled employees all the time. She almost set it aside for later review. Then she read the ownership claim, 52%. She pulled up the shareholder registry on her computer. Last comprehensive audit was 2015. She scrolled through the data, cross-referencing share counts against current holdings. The numbers didn't match her assumptions. She picked up her phone and called the trust administrator for the Kellerman Family Trust. The conversation lasted 8 minutes. The administrator confirmed everything. Garrett Kellerman's family trust held 52% of Whitfield Defense Solutions' outstanding voting shares, acquired over 24 years through employee stock purchases, profit-sharing reinvestment, and direct acquisition from retiring employees. Every transaction documented, every transfer properly filed. Pete Morrison later told me that Patricia sat at her desk for a full minute after that call. Didn't touch her keyboard, didn't pick up a pen, just stared at the injunction filing in front of her, doing the math. Then she got up, walked down the hall, and knocked on Bryce's office door. Bryce was behind his desk on a conference call with someone from Harvard Business School about a guest lecture he was supposed to give next month. Some panel on next-generation leadership in defense manufacturing. "We have a problem," Patricia said. "A significant one." Bryce held up a finger, finished his call, hung up. "Can it wait? I'm in the middle of restructuring the management team. It cannot wait." Something in her voice made him pay attention. Garrett Kellerman's family trust holds 52% of this company's voting shares. You demoted the majority owner without board approval. We are in violation of our own corporate bylaws. She held up the filing. Wayne County Circuit Court has frozen every executive decision you've made since Tuesday morning. Bryce's hand stopped halfway to his water glass. That can't be right. My family owns the majority. My grandfather founded this company. Your grandfather's trust holds 18%. The combined Whitfield family holdings are 28%. They haven't held controlling interest since 2015. Patricia's voice was level professional, the tone lawyers use when they're already calculating liability exposure. "Bryce, the court has issued an injunction. Your management restructuring, the personnel changes, all of it is frozen pending a full board vote. I've already contacted outside counsel. We need an emergency board meeting. 48 hours notice, as required by the injunction." What happened next was something they probably don't teach at Harvard Business School. Bryce Whitfield, for the first time in his privileged life, discovered what it felt like to have real consequences for his actions. The emergency board meeting notice went out Thursday morning. 7 directors notified by secure email. 48 hours notice as required by the injunction. Thursday was quiet, the kind of quiet that happens before weather changes. Bryce stayed in his office with the door closed. He didn't make any calls, didn't send any emails, didn't post anything on LinkedIn about lean leadership or operational efficiency. Just sat there, probably trying to figure out how 24 years of employee stock purchases had turned into a corporate coup. I spent Thursday doing what I'd been doing for 24 years. I walked the production floor, checked quality metrics, reviewed delivery schedules, talked to the line supervisors about the new armored transport prototypes we were building for the Army. Nothing had changed, except everything had changed. Around 3 p.m., I was in the parts warehouse when my phone buzzed text message from Pete Morrison, the guy who'd sold me his 8% stake back in 2012. "Heard about the board meeting tomorrow. About damn time somebody stood up to that kid. Word travels fast in a factory." By Thursday evening, everyone knew something big was happening. They didn't know the details, but they knew enough. The guy who'd worked his way up from maintenance tech to VP had been demoted by the boss's grandson, and somehow that wasn't going to stand. Thursday night, I was in my garage working on a carburetor rebuild for Zach's 1987 Camaro. Nothing fancy, just a 305 small block that needed attention. I had the float bowl apart, cleaning jets with carburetor spray and a wire brush. The work reminded me of my early days at Whitfield when I'd spent nights in the company garage learning how every component worked. Back then, I thought understanding the technical details would be enough. I thought if I worked hard and learned everything, opportunities would follow. I was right about that, but not in the way I expected. Lisa appeared in the doorway with a mug of coffee. She set it on my workbench next to my socket set. "Tomorrow's the board meeting." I nodded, testing a needle valve for proper seating. "You ready?" I held the valve up to the light, checking the taper. 24 years of patience sitting in a trust document in Eddie Walsh's office. Every share purchase logged in blue ink in a composition notebook. Every dollar earned standing on concrete floors until my knees ached. Every missed dinner, every late night, every time I chose the company over my family because I believed in what we were building. I've been ready since 2000. The carburetor work was methodical, precise. Each component had to fit exactly right or the engine wouldn't run. Too much fuel and it would flood. Too little and it would starve. The balance had to be perfect, just like everything else in life. I thought about Bryce Whitfield in his corner office, probably calling his grandfather, maybe his Harvard classmates, looking for advice on how to handle a situation they'd never prepared him for. How do you fight someone who owns more of your company than you do? You don't, you accept the consequences of your actions and hope for mercy. But mercy wasn't part of my mission plan. Friday, 2 p.m., Whitfield Defense Solutions boardroom. I'd been in that room maybe 20 times over the years. Budget presentations, contract briefings, quarterly reviews. I knew the grain pattern on the cherry wood conference table Bill Whitfield had custom made in 1985. I knew the painting on the far wall, the first Whitfield M998 rolling off the production line, olive drab and proud. I'd never sat at the head of that table. Not once in 24 years. 7 board members were already seated when I walked in. Eddie Walsh was to my right, leather briefcase open in front of him, every document tabbed and indexed. Patricia Reynolds sat near the middle with outside counsel, a woman from a Detroit firm I'd never met. Bryce was at the far end, his own attorney beside him. He was sitting very straight, hands flat on the table, jaw set. He'd been coached not to speak unless directly asked. I could tell because his mouth was a thin line and his eyes kept moving from the door to his grandfather's empty chair to anywhere, except at me. The board chair, Walter Henning, had served for 9 years. Retired Air Force colonel, understood chain of command and proper procedure. He called the meeting to order, presented the ownership documentation first. The numbers went up on the screen at the end of the room: 52% Kellerman Family Trust, 28% combined Whitfield holdings, 20% institutional and minority shareholders. The room was dead quiet, not conference room quiet, cemetery quiet. Walter looked at me and said, "Mr. Kellerman, would you like to address the board?" I stood up. Didn't need notes. The numbers were in my head the way technical specifications and maintenance schedules were in my head. They'd been there for 24 years. I joined Whitfield Defense in 2000, I said, maintenance tech, second shift, $12.50 and 50 euros an hour. I've worked every position on that production floor, every shift, every role between the factory floor and the VP office upstairs. I kept my voice level. Same tone I'd use briefing Pentagon colonels on delivery schedules. In 2001, I enrolled in the employee stock purchase plan, 10% discount, payroll deduction. I never cashed out. Every profit-sharing payout, every bonus went back into shares. When Pete Morrison retired in 2012, he sold me his stake because he trusted me to keep building what we started. When the Hartley estate needed to settle in 2018, my trust acquired those shares too. I paused, let the silence hold. Every transaction was legal, documented, and filed with this company's registrar. Tuesday morning, your acting CEO demoted the majority shareholder without consulting this board. He issued a memo before he told me face-to-face. He called it operational efficiency. I looked directly at Bryce for the first time since I'd walked in. I've been patient for 24 years. Mission's complete. Walter Henning looked at Patricia Reynolds. Patricia looked at outside counsel. Outside counsel nodded once. The chair calls for a vote on the removal of Bryce Whitfield as acting CEO of Whitfield Defense Solutions on grounds of unauthorized executive action in violation of Section 12.4 of the corporate bylaws. The vote went around the table. Henning, yes. Morrison, yes. Clark, yes. Davis, yes. Richardson, yes. Thompson, yes. Williams, yes. 7 demotion carries. Bryce Whitfield is removed as acting CEO effective immediately. Bryce's attorney leaned over and whispered something. Bryce pushed his chair back, looked at the empty space where his grandfather should have been sitting, and walked out. The door didn't close behind him, just swung open and stayed that way. The chair recognizes a motion to appoint Garrett Kellerman as Chief Executive Officer of Whitfield Defense Solutions. Same vote. Same result. 7-I sat at the head of the table for the first time. The cherry wood was warm under my hands. The painting of the first Whitfield vehicle was behind me now, over my shoulder where it belonged. The aftermath was complete and permanent. Bryce Whitfield was terminated for cause no severance. His unauthorized demotion of a majority shareholder had exposed the company to legal liability, grounds for immediate termination under his own employment contract. 3 institutional shareholders filed a collective lawsuit against Bryce for $47 million in damages stemming from the governance crisis. His Harvard MBA and family name couldn't help him in federal court. Within 30 days, I issued a $31 million special dividend. My 52% stake netted me $16.19 personally. I didn't buy a vacation home. I didn't buy a boat. I put most of it back into the company. I announced a $200 million expansion into next-generation military vehicles, with contracts already approved by the Pentagon and partnerships with 2 advanced materials suppliers. The projects had been sitting in development for 8 months, waiting for leadership that understood military requirements well enough to execute them. My first executive decision was restoring the veteran hiring program Bryce had eliminated. Second was reinstating the Memorial Day ceremony for employees who'd served. Third was announcing that Whitfield Defense would never outsource manufacturing overseas while I was CEO. Stock price tripled within a year. Bryce's LinkedIn profile went dark in March. His Audi A8, the silver one with the custom plates, got repossessed in April. Last I heard, he was working for a management consulting firm in Chicago that his mother's sorority sister owned, entry level. That Friday evening, after the board vote, I drove home the same route I always take. State Route 39 to County Road 15, past the strip malls and chain restaurants, past the subdivisions that backed up to the factory's south fence. 2018 Silverado with 91,000 miles on it, steel-toed Wolverines behind the driver's seat, Semper Fi decal still on the rear window. First snow of the season was starting to fall, light flakes barely sticking, the kind that dusts the parking lots white and melts off the roads by morning. Lisa was at the kitchen table when I walked in. She'd made coffee from the Folgers, can we'd been buying since 2000. Same brand, same routine, factory break room coffee in a kitchen that smelled like home. She set the mug in front of me and sat down across from me. Didn't ask how it went. Could see it in my face. I pulled out my phone and called Zach. He picked up on the first ring. Hey Dad, hey son, got some news. Long pause. I could hear the auto shop in the background where he worked part-time, the distant sound of an impact wrench, someone calling for a torque spec. About damn time, he said. I sat at that kitchen table with Lisa's coffee and the first snow falling outside the window. And for the first time in 24 years, I didn't need to be anywhere else. Not Monday morning, not next month, not next year, just here. Funny thing about a production floor, everyone walks past it, nobody thinks about it, but nothing moves without it. Not a single vehicle, not a single contract, not a single mission. Some people climb to the top by stepping on others. I climbed by buying the building. The mission was complete. Semper Fi. If you've ever been told you're not management material by someone who couldn't run a production line for 5 minutes, you know exactly how this felt. If you've ever watched a know-it-all with a fancy degree dismiss decades of real experience, you understand the satisfaction. Here's what I learned. Patience isn't just a virtue, it's a weapon. While they're making noise, you make moves. While they're networking, you're building equity. Your time will come if you're smart enough to prepare for it.